Having suffered through the first 3 episodes now, I can confidently say that this is by far the worst thing Marvel have ever produced in nearly 20 years of MCU history.
Not being undersold. After 3 episodes, this is by far the worst live-action Marvel ever made.
What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about probably the worst Marvel show in the history of Marvel.
I know about this character, so that's the reason why I'm going to talk about what people have an issue with when it comes to Ironheart and why she's not resonating with anybody. And this is an ongoing issue that I would say, okay, let me just snatch the band-aid off.
Liberals, right? What?
So we all know who this is, right? Like, we all know what group of people create these type of characters in general. Narcissism.
Narcissist. Riri is an awful human being. She's selfish, she's obsessed with her own fame and legacy, and she's obsessed with her own fame and legacy, and she cheats in school nonstop, she steals constantly, she blackmails.
They create narcissist characters and confuse it with strength. I don't know why they do that every single time, and they think that the more narcissistic you are, the more of an unredeemable bad person when it comes to your ego, the fact that you never get anything wrong.
Everybody out!
The fact that you are constantly victimizing yourself, the fact that you constantly have to belittle somebody else in order for you to be up.
Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire? No shade. That's just the way the world works.
I don't know why liberals choose this character arc for their characters every fucking time, and they always seem to fail and they never change course. Why do you do this? It's like they don't understand that narcissism is bad, or having an ego or having no flaws makes you uninteresting. I don't get why they do this.
What's going on, guys? We're back with another YouTube video. And well, the Ironheart show just ended, and I think it's pretty safe to say that this show was absolutely fucking peak. Even though I do have my issues with this show, I would say I think they did a pretty good job overall, with showcasing Riri's character, who she is, her motivations, especially, certain deals that were made throughout the show. The promotion of the series had a pretty decent focus on the magical aspects being put into it, and ultimately after seeing the last 3 episodes, I think going the techno-magical route with her character was definitely the best choice for her. Not only did they utilize these concepts to tie in with her character development, which we'll get to, it was also a great way to offer a refreshing and unique take on the Stark Tech stuff in general. We know that the most common complaint with a lot of the MCU properties is that a lot of the tech being displayed with the more recent adaptations lacked any real ingenuity. It all pretty much just became more of the same with the nanotech shit. So I can appreciate the fact that they listened to criticism and gave us practical suits along with magical upgrades to switch it up. And we actually got a final suit that wasn't fucking booty. Like, let's fucking go. With that being said, it's really no secret that a lot of people wanted this show to fail before it came out, making completely asinine criticisms that I debunked in this video if y'all want to check that out. But basically the bulk of these criticisms was that Riri felt generic, derivative, that her being a genius somehow felt forced, and that no one likes her because she's a Mary Sue. Apparently she doesn't have relatable flaws or experience consequences for her actions, which I am happy to say that this show completely destroyed all of these empty ass critiques out of the water, because literally right out the gate in the first 10 minutes of the episode, it shows her having to deal with a life-changing consequence for her actions when she's expelled out of her school for selling school projects to other students. So, you know, once these assholes realized they couldn't come at her for being a Mary Sue anymore, they had to switch it up and start finding other reasons to complain about. In the first few minutes of the video, you saw one of the biggest gripes I had with some of these reviewers is that they kept trying to demonize Riri for being selfish and displaying egotistical tendencies at certain points of the show, which I don't understand. Why is this bad? It's called having a character flaw. Never at any point does the show state that she's supposed to be some sort of glamorous and humble individual. She's not even really a heroic figure yet, more so a great protagonist than anything else. Y'all are really trying to go down this selfish route. When Tony started out, he was pretty much the exact same same way, and to be honest, to a way worse degree than Riri was. Especially in Iron Man 2, his friends had to constantly intervene and bail him out because he was always doing some dumb shit. Not to mention other characters, like was Peter Parker not a little self-centered at first before he became Spider-Man, to the point where it literally got his uncle killed? Exactly. So people complain when they think she doesn't have flaws, but when she is shown to have flaws, that's a problem too. So it's like you can't win with these people. So I'm gonna go into the reasons why I love Riri's characterization in this personally. When we're introduced to Riri at MIT, we're immediately shown her motivations and why she's even trying to make suits of armor in the first place. She's making suits for similar reasons that Tony was, and that is to make the world a better place. Except this time, instead of just making suits for herself, she wants to create suits that revolutionize safety operations, which on the surface level you could say is a bit cliche, but once we learn why Riri wants to do this, that is the fact that she felt powerless when her father and best friend Natalie were killed in front of her in a drive-by, all of a sudden her devotion and extreme attachment to her suits of armor start to make a lot more sense. You can really start to see this trauma manifest because she starts having panic attacks and meltdowns inside the suit whenever she feels like she doesn't have control over the situation. It's a really cool way to show why the Ironheart suit is so important to her. People were already getting mad off the jump that she said Tony Stark really wouldn't be where he is now without his money or resources.
You think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire? No shade. That's just the way the world works.
Which I really don't see the issue with what she said, because what she's saying is true. Tony Stark would not be Iron Man without his financial resources. The only reason he was even able to make his suits in the first place was because he had the money and resources from Stark Industries. Even his iconic Mark III, which is the baseline of his later suits, is estimated to have cost around tens of millions of dollars to produce. And this clip keeps being played by fans who don't understand this.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
But first off, it's important to note that the scraps that Tony used to build the Mark I and the arc reactor in that cave was recycled Stark Tech missile and weapon parts, which goes back to Stark Industries, which is the whole reason he was even in that situation to begin with. He was a big financial leader in the weapons field, not knowing that his weapons were being sold under the table to terrorists, including the ones that captured him. No money means no Stark Industries, which means he doesn't get captured, which of course means he doesn't become Iron Man. So what Riri said is still correct. While his genius does play a crucial role in how he goes about situations, it's the billions of dollars he possessed that ultimately laid the foundation for his Iron Man journey. He would not be able to do what he's been doing without it. Which, yes, he created the Mark I without his billions of dollars. You want to know what the Mark I also did? Completely tore apart 15 seconds after he escaped that cave. Without the money and resources to improve it, the suit would not have been usable long term. Even with the arc reactor that he designed in that cave, that wouldn't have lasted him that long without money or resources either, because it was shown in Iron Man 2 that the palladium in the original core was killing him. This man literally had to create a whole new fucking nuclear element in Iron Man 2 to make a self-sustaining one, which he literally would not have been able to do without the money or resources that he had from Stark Industries. This alone shows that the Riri haters and the people grifting off that hate don't really understand Iron Man as a character. She's not saying that it's the money that defines Tony overall. She's saying that in order to achieve the full scale of what she wants to accomplish and that Tony was able to do, she needs money and resources to do that. I don't get why that's so hard for people to understand. It's also important to note here that even though she tries to use Tony Stark to make her point, she still gets called out for her mistakes by the principal and still gets expelled for violating the rules. So off the gate, the whole point here is to establish a lesson here that Riri has to learn throughout the course of the show. That trying to take shortcuts through shady means, while it is understandable, the show makes it very clear that it was still wrong of her to do. Like her deciding to work with criminals to make fast money did help her in quite a bit of ways, especially when it came to improving her tech, but it also recklessly put herself and her family at risk. The show directly critiques her for doing this through the people around her, including her mom, Ezekiel when she ends up screwing him over, and even her Natalie AI. all the people around her are holding her accountable for making dumb decisions, which is something I like. The plot twist at the end where she decides to make the deal with Mephisto was really cool and I think completely fits her character. Now it was insanely stupid because it's 100% gonna bite her in the ass later, but it makes sense. Especially with the Natalie robot, it's shown that she never really got over her trauma with Natalie, and Mephisto, being a master manipulator, takes complete advantage of this. There's a weird complaint going around that because she's a genius, the idea that she makes decisions like this doesn't make any sense. But it does make sense. She's young and inexperienced and doesn't have a full grasp of how the world works. It's called a character arc, and even older characters like Tony made dumb decisions with disastrous consequences from time to time, like creating Ultron in Avengers 2, when everyone around him told him not to. Or how about when he revealed his whole fucking address on national TV and opened the door for the Mandarin to destroy his entire operation at his mansion, and not to mention Pepper and himself was almost fucking killed because of him doing that. Or when Peter and Ned in Spider-Man Homecoming hacked their suit without Tony's knowledge, took a nuclear alien core to Washington DC and almost got all the students there killed in an elevator. Yeah, being a genius doesn't stop you from being human. Humans in general make dumb decisions all the time, no matter what caliber of intelligence you're on. So this critique doesn't make sense. Y'all can't say that Riri doesn't have flaws, but when they intentionally showcase flaws in her decision making, you complain somehow that it's dumb and doesn't make sense. She isn't gonna make the right decisions all the time. That's how characters work. After all, if she did get everything exactly right, guess what? Y'all would be calling her a Mary Sue. It also makes sense with Ezekiel Stain's character and why I love him in this. From what I've seen in his character in like some of the comics and other adaptations, he's okay. You know, he's a deranged mad scientist obsessed with being better than Stark. While here in Ironheart, when we initially see him, he doesn't want to have anything to do with Stark or his dad at all. The dude is just a clumsy average Joe who really just wants to live his life. While he starts off as an on and off ally of sorts, even, you know, with Riri teaching him how to have a backbone, which is actually used against her later, it's ultimately Riri's actions that led to Stain becoming an antagonist in the show. The fact that she screwed up working with Parker and their criminals led to his life being screwed over because of her mistakes. And even then, you could tell that the gentler side was still in there when he decided not to kill her on Parker's orders. And speaking of Parker, let's talk about him. His performance as the Hood was absolutely stellar in this. I had no clue who the fuck the Hood was going into this, but now I am definitely a fan. Parker Robbins in this is sort of a dark parallel to Riri in the sense. Like, he wants respect in the same way that she does, but he's willing to do much worse to get what he wants. We learn that his desire for respect mainly comes from him being cast out by his dad, which kind of leads him down a path of revenge against him and people like him. So it's kind of like a distorted Robin Hood, where he's stealing from these people and sharing it with his family, pretending like it's for a noble cause, when in reality he's really only benefiting himself. And due to his distorted perception of the world, he falls deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole to the point where he literally becomes a vampire monster in the final fight with Riri. It's a nice little allegory that revenge tends to lead people down a dark path that most of the time they can't come back from. So, Parker's crew is an amazing addition to the plot of the season. Yeah, on some real shit though, outside of the heist, I did find the crew to be kind of lackluster with the exception of Slug having a few moments at times. They were background characters that were really just there to serve a purpose and move the heist stuff forward more than anything else, but that's pretty much about it. I think the main issue with most of the crew is that they lack depth, which they're background characters, so really this is me nitpicking, but with them working as a team and how much Parker puts focus on the family aspect that they had, I think it would have been cool to see their lives outside of the heist missions or even before they met Parker to characterize them a little bit more. Like, we do get snippets of information here and there, but it's really touch and go information that's kind of cheap and isn't really expanded on in the story at all. This is what I mean. I feel like the main squad could have used a lot more fleshing out. Another criticism I have with the show is that the dialogue sometimes feels way too bland and straight up unimaginative to the point where certain scenes just feel dragged out at times. This was an issue I had with Captain America America Brave New World, but it seems like recently Marvel 40% of the time just forgets how to write interesting dialogue. Like, I'm not even fucking with you. The scenes when Riri's interacting with the kid are a lot more entertaining than her conversations with most of the side characters. So it's like, I know they could put more flair in their dialogue, they just don't for some reason. The dynamic between Riri and Natalie's brother was entertaining and heartwarming to watch. The chemistry and acting between them was great, and it seemed like they were setting him up as some sort of romantic interest for Riri. The thing is, by the end of the show, it just kind of felt wasted because it didn't really have any payoff. I'm surprised they didn't kiss with how much time they were focusing on their relationship. Hell, I wouldn't have even minded if they killed him off or hurt him in some way. It would have been another cool way to showcase someone being important to Riri getting caught up in her bad decision making. Anyways, the final points I want to make in this video is Mephisto. The casting and dialogue for him was absolute gold.
They say that time heals all wounds, but that's bollocks. Pain, it never goes away. It festers, and it hardens. I can fix that.
Yeah, that nigga was fucking spooky, bro. But anyways, details like the spoon showing his true reflection was a nice touch, and his relationship with Parker and how he used him just to completely abandon him at the end completely encapsulates Mephisto as a character. It seems to even be implied that he was the one controlling the Natalie AI from the jump, which put her on the path to meeting him in the first place. So yeah, that dude was making moves from the start. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much to say about him, but he had a pretty strong debut in this show, man. So overall, here are my concluding thoughts on the show. With the pros, I think Riri's characterization was well done, the practical suits, elements, and magical aspects were very entertaining to see, Ezekiel's characterization was great, the Hood villain was outstanding, and Mephisto's debut leaves me wanting more. However, Parker's crew was definitely underdeveloped and could have used a lot more fleshing out. Not to mention the dialogue in general at times just wasn't great and left a lot to be desired. There were also a few wasted elements in the show that would have been much more fun if they had been given some sort of payoff, which there might be a season 2, I don't know. But my point still stands. So at the end of the day, the show was pretty good. Though my personal rating for the show would sit somewhere in between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10. It's definitely one of the better Marvel shows to come out and definitely proved a lot of the haters wrong and made Riri a lot more of an interesting character than what a lot of people thought they could do with her. I'm seeing on the internet that most YouTubers are still calling the show trash, but to be honest, it really just seems like most of it is bad faith, given that the show was judged preemptively before it even came out. Like I said, I do think it's a good show. Do I think it's a masterpiece? No, and I definitely think there are valid critiques and criticisms to be had. But trying to crucify Riri for having character flaws isn't one of them. Riri isn't Tony. She isn't trying to be Tony, and that is fine. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for the video. Let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts? Do you think the show was good? Do you think it was bad? Do you think it was mid? Feel free to let me know, and if you like what you see, be sure to like the video, share, comment on the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, I'm out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.